Welcome to Season 7 of Be a Baller, the podcast where success isn't the goal, legacy is. This season is all about intentional living, leading with purpose, serving with faith, and leaving a mark that outlives us. We go beyond the highlights, bringing you real conversations with legacy builders from ministry, business, sports, education, and community. Leaders committed to the Wisdom Pledge, paying it forward to the next generation. If you're ready for faith-filled leadership and practical wisdom to live on purpose and finish strong, let's be a baller, legacy style.
Welcome to Be a Baller podcast. This episode today, as part of our Fatherhood series, is sponsored by First Merchant Bank. First Merchant Bank is a bank that helps you prosper. Welcome to Be a Baller podcast, where we celebrate individuals who are building a lifelong legacy through faith, leadership, service, education, and impact. I'm your host, Coach Tim Brown. Today's episode is part of our special fatherhood series called Pass the Torch, Generational Legacy. We're honored to welcome a remarkable father and son duo whose lives have been deeply shaped by education and service to their community. Mr. Drakeford, not senior, but just close enough. But Mr. Drakeford, Dion has spent decades investing in students as a mathematics teacher, principal, and assistant principal within Columbus City Schools. His son, Deondre, has followed in his footsteps, serving as a teacher, assistant principal, and now, I'm proud to say, principal of Berwick Elementary School in Columbus. If I had a hand clap behind me, I would be happy. So I'm excited about that. Together, they represent a powerful example of how values, leadership, and purpose can be passed from one generation to the next. Today, we'll explore their family story, their shared commitment to education, and the lessons they hope to pass on to future generations. Gentlemen, welcome to Be a Baller podcast.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank
Oh, yeah,
thank you, Coach Brown, for the opportunity.
Yeah, we were teasing off air about one day that the father's going to work for the son. You know? That would be something.
Awesome
Dad,
opportunity.
oh, yeah. But Dad, you know, the word on the streets that you're a music man.
I am. I love music. I'm a basement DJ. I mess around a little bit. I enjoy. That's how I relax. That's my hobby. That's my release. So yes.
Take us back. Take your son back to our day. The kind of music we were listening to. You know, before they got
exactly
hippity hop and all that. Take him back, Dad.
Exactly. Some Commodore, some Earth, Wind and Fire, some of that good old music, man. That's what we do.
Yeah,
he enjoys it. He enjoys it.
Okay, yeah,
that's what he heard growing up.
Yeah, that was my next question. Dion, did you catch that love for music?
Absolutely. So I think I remember being probably 5, 6. That's when I first remember hearing all the good music and like those songs. I still play them to this day. A lot of the songs my dad was playing, my mom. So the songs from the 90s. But that definitely developed a strong love for music for me.
Yeah. Have you passed that on to your family? They caught the bug, so. Yes?
Yeah, I have two stepchildren at home, and they're a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they both love music too. They love to dance. They catch a beat instantly. So, and I rap. So, yeah, music is definitely in the household.
All right, good stuff. Mr. Drakeford, Dion, can you take us back to the beginning? What was your upbringing in Columbus like, and how did your experiences in Columbus City Schools shape who you are today?
I've been a member of Columbus City Schools student, teacher, administrator since I've been 5 years old. So I attended Windsor Elementary as a elementary student. Then I went to Ridgeview Middle School, Whetstone High School. So my whole experience has been in Columbus City Schools, and I absolutely enjoyed it. Without Columbus City Schools, I wouldn't be the man that I am today. So when I was in fourth grade, I had an experience with Miss Ennis. She was my teacher in fourth grade, and I said from that point forward that I was going to be a teacher, but not just a teacher, a math teacher, because to me that was where many of my friends struggled, and I knew that was one of my strong suits, and that was going to be my way of giving back and helping support my friends in the community. So since fourth grade, I've had this passion, this love, this desire, this drive to be an educator And I'm happy to say I've achieved that.
DeOndre, growing up, you were blessed with a father and a mother who were educators and school leaders, both mom and dad. I know you always got your homework done, so we already know that. We ain't got to ask that question. I know that. But what were some of your earliest memories of seeing them serve students and families?
Yeah, I remember the first time I was in middle school at this point, and I got to observe my dad teaching with his high school students at East. And at that time, I wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those were the two careers I always thought about. But then that day, when I watched him teach, I pretty much spent the whole day there. It made me want to be a teacher, actually. So I always admired my dad, like as a man and as a father, but I never really got to see him teaching. So being able to see that, I was like, wow, teaching is pretty cool. I saw like the impact he had, the relationships he had with the students. And then I got to see him from a different lens too. But then I really started to envision myself as a teacher, like from that day forward. So it pretty much started to be something I strongly considered. I still considered going to medical school and all of that as well. But then I ended up making that change by my second year of college because I started pre-med, but I ended up making that change. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, really, because I feel so much passion for this career. I can't imagine doing any other career. But it was really that was the earliest memory I remember of like, wow, I want to be a teacher too.
Mm. That's an awesome story. Dion, how was that parent teacher conference? How was that parent teacher conference back in the day?
uh, Interesting. Uh, Deondre was always headstrong. I mean, I knew as a 3-year-old, he was going to be somebody. He was going to have an impact on this world. He questioned everything, and he challenged with respect everything. So we would all these conversations with his teachers. They would always say how inquisitive he is. That's a term they use, inquisitive. He was he was always challenging teachers, questioning them respectfully about the content. But yeah, it was a heck of a ride, heck of an experience, and I seen that those leadership qualities, like I said early on when he was a young fella, and he's to this day he's lived up to that, and he's continuing to carry the torch.
Yeah, that's a blessing hearing that, because sometimes as parents, when we see certain things in our children, all children are different, and being blessed to recognize those and to nurture those, not to beat those down, but to nurture those,
Right.
to encourage those, to encourage that spunk, as we call it spunk, that's what we call it. I don't know what they call it. We call that fire in them, and we don't want to quench that fire. But like you said, we want to direct it in the right direction, and it's a
Right.
blessing having
You
a
always
father.
have that fire. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a blessing having that father and mother who recognize that and who kind of can point in that right direction. As we talk about education as a family legacy, Dion, after spending 13 years teaching mathematics, before moving into administration, what lessons from the classroom still guide your leadership today? What did you learn in that classroom that still guides you as a principal, assistant principal?
I think the ideal that you never give up on children. All children are capable of learning. They may learn at different paces, but they all can learn. We just have to find how to reach those individuals. So, being an administrator in terms of communicating and reaching children, nothing changes. It's all the same. You still have to find how to reach them, how to connect with them, what their interests are. And once I learned that I had to really hone in on their interest and what drives them, that's how I was able to connect. And I still use those strategies today to make sure that I'm able to connect with children, just working on those relationships and really seeing how I can best support them.
Well, you done made both me and DeOndre want to be in your class. we both want to sit under you, Jack. Yeah. Hey, DeOndre, you began as a teacher and assistant principal before becoming principal of Berwick Alternative Elementary School. What inspired you to pursue leadership in education? What inspired you to go from the classroom to leadership?
So I think really just taking my grad school courses
Mhm.
I was a math teacher and I worked closely with my math coach. And so by my second year of teaching, I decided, you know what? Just like how my dad inspired me to want to be a teacher, my math coach inspired me to want to be a math coach. So I was talking with her and I said, you know, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get my master's in curriculum and instruction because I want to be a math coach. And I think I even shared with her that she inspired me to be a coach. And actually told me, she advised me that I should get my admin license so I could have more opportunities aside from just coaching. She said, you know, this is really the route you should go because now you can be a coach or you can be a principal. And at that time, I hadn't thought of being a principal. But I said, you know, I'm going to do that anyway because it does sound like a better option because it kind of can give me more opportunities. And then in taking my grad coursework and having an intern with my principal at the school and all of that, and I even was able to intern with my dad, who was a principal as well at that time. So then I got to see him as a principal too. And it really made me think, you know what, maybe I do want to be a principal. So that it just happened pretty quickly. After 5 years of teaching, I went ahead and said, you know, I'm going to go ahead and try. And I credit my dad for that too, for instilling that confidence in me. Because I remember telling him, I said, I don't know if I'm ready to be an administrator yet. I said, you know, I've only had 5 years or a couple years. And I remember, Dad, you were sharing with me that, you know, you can do it. You know, it's not much different than teaching. Kind of just, you know, hone in on your skills, the relationships. He was telling me all the skills I had to make me think, okay, maybe I can do this. So that was how that happened. Really just taking the grad school coursework and mentoring my dad, my coach, that helped me want to go to leadership.
Mhm. Well, Dad, son done put you another level, brother. I see you another level now. You know? At you another level, you know. As we think about this, you two together, how have the two of you supported one another professionally over the years?
Yeah, I can go
Well,
first. Oh, you go ahead, Dad.
no, I was going to say, I think myself and DeAndre's mother, as you know, as you mentioned, she's an educator as well. Um, Dre Dre is always did not hesitate to reach out and contact us, and yeah, if he has a question, you know, we share our experiences, our wisdom. But he's always reached out. So yeah, we always look forward to those conversations. Even today, when I mean, every single time he comes to visit, you know, we get into these conversations about education. Myself, him, my wife, just like when we were younger, there was an ongoing conversation in our household about education in one form or another. You know, when he was a student, of course, we had those conversations from that lens. Now, as an educator, we continue to have these conversations on a consistent basis. But just those ongoing, never-ending conversations, sharing our experiences, and he's sharing his experiences with us. As I told him a little while ago, it's so many things that I've learned from him. Um, you know, with him being a principal and his leadership style, many things that I've learned from him already. So yeah, it's just that ongoing conversation that we help support each other.
DeAndre?
Yeah, I would say pretty much I would mirror that. Just a lot of communication with my dad, and even just going back to before I was an educator, hearing his conversations with my mom in the household, coming home and they're sharing their experiences of their days in high school. My mom was at Mifflin High School too, at that time. So just hearing their experiences was molding me to want to be an educator then too, like even more so. I would just think like, wow, they really need educators in these schools. So
Mhm.
even when I was a high school student, I knew we need educators who care. And it felt like my passion was developing over time. I was like, you know, I want to give back when I get in my career as well, give back to the youth. So it just was like for me the biggest way to give back on a daily basis. But definitely to this day, bouncing ideas off my parents, sharing things sharing my experiences here as a principal and learning from them. So working alongside them. I even sat down with my mom. She helped me do some planning for some things with her in this coaching role. So just a lot of great support that I'm able to get with my parents.
You know, as we know that there's a need for Black male teachers,
Absolutely.
Black males in education. Can you guys share, both of you are in those spaces, can you talk about really how important that is, and the impact that Black male teachers have in schools?
Yeah, I want to start this one, Dad, because I actually want to share something else you shared with me. You may not remember. So I became a teacher 10 years ago. But I remember before I became one, when I was first like changing my major to education, I was going to go the high school route because my dad taught high school, and I was thinking, I could see me teaching high school. And I remember, Dad, I don't know if you remember, I shared with you that I'm thinking about teaching high school, and you said if you really want to catch them and make the biggest impact, catch them early because by high school it's almost too late. And when he said that, that made me think, okay, well maybe I'll go elementary, and that's what I did. That's what made me go elementary. So I ended up taking early childhood education courses. Fell in love with elementary. I really always liked all ages, but teaching elementary was like it was passion work, and I'm sure all age groups are, but I definitely loved it. So
Yeah.
I think right now, less than 5% of the teachers in Columbus City schools are Black males. So it's so important that males join this profession, Black males join this profession. As we know, the majority of our students are African American in Columbus City schools and in many of our urban cities. So for our kids to be successful, they need to see people that look like them, people they can communicate and relate to, people that come from a similar background. That's how they become successful. They need to have those role models um, with them each and every day. So I think it's very important that African Americans be that role model, reach back, give back to the community, become teachers. Like I said, since I was in fourth grade, I wanted to teach, and I was not able to articulate it then, obviously, but as I matured and grew older, I realized that the importance of being that male role model, reaching back and giving back each and every day, helping support our young people. So it's vitally important. Like I said, such a small percentage of Black males are in urban education, and we have to do a better job if we want to reach our children.
As we begin continuing on that conversation about education, my wife Carmen, who's an educator as well, talks about, she mentioned this one day, we talk a lot about generational wealth. That's a big word, passing wealth on. But she said something that was so powerful about the importance of generational education.
Yes.
Generational education. So for families listening, can you guys kind of share why do you believe education can become a powerful generational legacy? We know money can help or whatnot, it does help, but why do you believe that education can become a powerful generational legacy to leave?
That's exactly what my wife and I, my family, we're trying to leave that educational legacy. We have, recently we had a men's empowerment breakfast at Beechcroft High School. And the theme of the breakfast was, what will be your legacy? And one of the reasons why I went with that, I was thinking about my legacy and what impact I've had and continue to have, hopefully, on this generation and as I move on. But it made me realize and think about the fact that how important it is that I continue to lay the foundation and stress the importance of education for my children, my grandchildren, my children's children, and my great grandchildren, and so forth. That educational legacy is important. And we talk about wealth, like you said, but if you have the education, finances and wealth will come. So it's so important to lay that foundation, get that education, especially when you consider the years of miseducation that we've experienced as a community. Having that strong foundation is important. So it's vitally important for families to embrace it, pass this on to their children, their grandchildren, the great grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So that's how you build legacies. As one of the famous quotes I love about by Malcolm X about education is the passport to the future. If we want our children and our grandchildren to be successful, we have to pass the torch, and we have to pass it through education.
Good. Deondre, you right there.
That was one. Yeah, that was one of the quotes that popped in my mind as well when you asked that question. And it was something that my dad used to always, mention in reference to Malcolm X and to a lot of other heroic figures in our community. But it's that simple. I mean, knowledge is power. Education is the passport to the future. And I think once you have an education, that's something I was always told no one can take from you. We know with money in the stock market or whatever career you have, anything, money can come and go. Things can change with financial situations, but your education will never leave
Here
you.
to
So,
stay.
I think that's why it's important to pass that on because it's knowledge.
It definitely is. Dion, I was reading through your bio. You talked a lot about being a servant leadership philosophy, which is rooted in faith. How has faith influenced the way you lead and father?
I am a faithful servant. I pray often. I ask for spiritual guidance every single day when I wake up before I start my day and start my journey and report to my duty at my job. I pray every day for guidance and support from God, and I've done that my whole life. As a father, I understand that God has to be first, number one. I try to operate with integrity. I have to pass that on to my children, and so my hope is and my belief is that I have passed on that spiritual sense onto my children, that integrity, that importance of being humble and being a servant of God. That's what I try to do each and every day, and I'm hopeful that my son has picked up on that, and I'm sure he has. I see that he has, and that he continues to carry that torch.
Mhm. DeAndre, speaking of that, what values from your family and faith been most important in the way you lead your school community and the way you lead Berwick?
Yeah, I think integrity, like my dad spoke to, making sure that I'm always trying to be the best person I can be. One quote my dad used to always say is, "Be good even when no one's watching." And he would always also mention that God is always watching. So that's like a motivational piece too, because we have to be good for God. So I think applying that faith and just always trying to please God kind of leads me in this work because it's seamless when you're showing up to make an impact in a job like this. Having integrity and trying to do the right thing is just naturally what you do, and it's what you have to do in this role. So it's really not something I have to think about too much. But of course, sometimes you get pulled away with the challenges, or if someone's disrespecting you or not meeting your expectations, whether it's your students, parents, staff, you have to always be mindful of your response and remember why you're doing this and not to get out of character. So sometimes I do have to give myself those reminders. And then I also think it was powerful, Dad, when you mentioned like just praying every day before you go in. That's something that I do sometimes, and I want to be more consistent with doing because we do have to make sure we're covered, spiritually
Yes,
before
sir.
we go in each day, because each day is a challenge, each day is a battle, and sometimes I don't pray before I go in, and then, I have to remember to do that each day because this is God.
You got to put that. You got to put the armor on. You got to put the armor on each day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's amazing when, sometimes, like you said, we forget to pray, but ain't it a blessing that God never forgets us? you know?
Exactly.
And how we can look back
Exactly.
and we can recall some situations where I forgot to pray about that, but God's still blessed. That's all we can say is thank you. Both of you have dedicated your careers to the city and have helped shape them. What does it mean in this role now to give back to Columbus through education?
Like I said a little while ago, I'm born and raised here in Columbus City Schools. I feel honored to be able to continue to give back each and every day here in the community that I grew up in, people that I grew up around, and just to be able to serve in this capacity. It means the world to me, and I do not want to be anywhere else in any other district, any other city. I want to be here in Columbus, Ohio. It's that vested interest, right? My family, my mom, my uncles, everyone grew up in Columbus City Schools. This is where I want to be, and I want to end my career here in Columbus City Schools.
Amen. DeAndre?
For me, so I actually did have experience in two other districts because I went to college at the University of Cincinnati. So, and then I was able to get a teaching job right before I even graduated with Cincinnati Public Schools. So that's where I spent all my teaching, and then I got into administration with Mount Healthy City Schools, which is a smaller district in Cincinnati. And then I came back to Cincinnati Public Schools as an assistant principal, all before coming here. But ultimately, I always wanted to be home. I wanted to be with Columbus City. I went to Columbus City Schools, graduated Northland High School, 2011. So I always envisioned coming back home, and it was like my dream. At the time when I was teaching, it was my dream to come back home and teach in Columbus City. And then when I became an administrator, I said, well, one day I maybe move back home and be an administrator in Columbus City. So fortunately, that was able to happen. I just moved back last June, so it's been a year now being back home. So I spent over 10 years in Cincinnati. So I got to see some other things in some other districts, but it's no place like home. Columbus City, the best district in Ohio, and but also being my hometown and being a graduate of it, it was always something I wanted to do, was just be able to give back and be a product of this district. So and help, help influence the youth here.
As we think about this episode as on passing the torch, for each of you, what does that mean to you, both of you personally? What does passing the torch mean to both of you personally?
Go first, Dad.
Passing the torch, just that word we've been talking about, that legacy, that impact. How will you be, how will you be remembered? As I share with my students, when we had our empowerment breakfast a few weeks ago, I asked them the question, what will be your legacy? Will you just be a name on the bathroom wall? You say, it says, Joe was here, 1987, written on the wall. Is that going to be your legacy? Or are you going to have a profound positive impact on this world? And that, that's passing the torch, doing something positive that helps people. How can you pass that on? Or how will you be able to pass that on? What is your legacy?
Yeah, I agree. I second that. I think, yeah, it's really that simple. Just inspiring others so that they can inspire others. So like keeping that chain going. I want to quote Tupac Shakur, one of my favorite artists of all time. He has said something along the lines of, "I may not change the world, but I can light that spark in somebody else that can change the world." And I remember hearing that as a young kid.
Beautiful,
I thought that was
beautiful.
powerful. So definitely just, and then in education, I think about that sometimes too. Like I think about it all the time, really, but that quote in particular, just about sparking a change in a student who maybe one day will spark a bigger change in the world. So just, yeah, just lighting the fire in other people. I think that's what passing the torch is in whatever room we're talking about, showing others, guiding others, leading others, and inspiring others so that they can do the same and keep it going.
What's that quote
Dion,
again?
He's Tupac. He said, I may not change the world, but I can light that fire in somebody else so that they could change the world. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along those lines. I saw it in the interview.
but
I
Dad
love it.
gonna
I
have to
love
add Tupac. Dad, you gotta add Tupac to your playlist, man.
Oh yeah.
it.
Tupac
He's in
Shakur.
there, but
Yeah, you gotta add it to your
okay.
playlist. Dion, what advice would you give to fathers who want to leave a meaningful legacy for their children?
I think it's so important to be your authentic self. I think it's important for fathers to understand that your children are always watching. When you think they're not watching, they're looking at you. So it's important to always doing the right thing, being positive, being affirming, just being a figurehead, a leader of your family. It's important that your children see that. And like I said, I think we cannot underestimate how important it is to be a role model. Our children are always looking at us. Our students are always looking at us. Even when we think they're not looking, they're watching. So that integrity piece, that honesty, and just being passionate, leading with integrity, that's what fathers have to do. And that's so important to me. Those are the values that I carry forward with me, and I hope that I pass that on to my children. And I would love to see many more fathers embrace those qualities.
That's good. DeAndre, what advice would you give young people who are considering a career in education or leadership? What advice would you give them?
I would say go into it knowing that you are making an impact, and to always be mindful of that impact when it becomes challenging, just to remember your purpose and remember that you may not always see the reward, but eventually it will pay off. So I think just being mindful that it's a long game. You don't always see the results right away, and you may feel like you're not making an impact, but you are. As long as you're showing up and showing that you care, that's what matters most to the people you're working with. because they're watching, to my dad's point. And when they see that you care and they see that you're consistent and that you're committed, eventually that will rub off on them, whether knowingly or unknowingly. They will want to rise to your expectations because you set forth that example and you held them to it. So just holding students accountable or whatever you do, holding people accountable, putting your best foot forward and remain consistent in your purpose. And I think everything else will work itself out.
That's a good answer. That's great. As you continue to look at this legacy piece, when future generations of the Drakeford family look back, what do you hope they remember most about the legacy that you two are building, that your family is building together right now? When those future generations, those grandkids, great grandkids look back on this time, what do you hope they remember most about the legacy you all are building together?
I'll let you go first when that was right.
Okay. I'm going to say, Coach Brown, what you shared about what your wife mentioned about generational education. That's what I like. That I really like that. That resonated. That's what I would like to be passed on with my children, with my grandchildren. If we can keep that going, I do think that's really the most important is generational knowledge, generational education. So I just want my family to be able to continue to educate each other, educate the community, educate ourselves, and just keep that going forever.
Yeah, on those same lines, just building that legacy. Studies say it takes 6 generations to build wealth.
Talk.
So, we have to ask ourselves the question: how many generations does it take to build that educational wealth? And so I just hope that as my grandchildren, children, and all those folks look back years from now when I'm long gone, they will be able to say that great grandpa, great grandpa, great great grandpa, they laid the foundation. They started all this. They started us all on this journey. They laid a solid foundation as far as education, and we have to continue to carry that legacy and give back and support and help our community.
Wow. It's got six generations, huh? All right. But it's starting, but we're starting it. We're gonna keep it going. But also we're gonna get it done. As we wrap up, these are a couple rapid fire questions, and they're kind of some short answers. And I'll ask each one of you to just answer these. The first one is I'm gonna say who answers what. So I'll say I'm gonna go back and forth. I want to hear some of these. First one for Papa. What's your favorite family tradition?
Oh man, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving and all the good food, and the family together, everyone's enjoying each other.
Yeah.
Without question, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. DeAndre, what's yours?
I would say that as well, or the family reunions that my family would always do. A lot of times we would even have some of our Detroit family come. So yeah, those two.
This is for you, DeAndre, first. What's one character trait you admire about your dad?
His humility.
Definitely. I might have to chime in on this long answer for this one. Definitely. I ain't know brother was a math teacher, math major, math curriculum. And I didn't know all that, man. He just walk around like he just some kind of no, man. You're a math genius, brother.
Yeah.
Dad, what's one character trait you admire most about your son?
Honorable. Honorable.
Good word.
And it's integrity also, but yeah, honorable.
Good. DeAndre, what's the best advice you received from your dad?
This may I would hate to sell him short because I mean he's giving me advice all throughout, but just you can do it. He always inspired me with anything, even things that I didn't feel like I could do. Even math. I mean, struggling with math and feeling like, man, I just can't figure this out. Whatever it was, he always said, you can do it. You just have to put that work in. So I think he just really instilled work ethic in me early that anything can be done if you put the work in.
Dad, what's the best advice you received from your son?
I don't know if it's advice that he's giving me, but just watching him from afar and seeing how he operates each and every day. Like I said, he's very honorable, has integrity, but I like how he operates as an educational leader. And one thing as an educational leader, you have to be willing to question and challenge, not be afraid to ask those challenging questions to students, to staff, to parents, to family, holding everyone accountable. And I think he does a good job with that, and he's able to navigate that space very, very well. And I'm proud to see that, he's able to have that skill. And that's something that I think he's very strong with. And that's something he's actually, as I shared with him a little while ago, he's given me some ideas on how I need to modify my practice and with respect to that. But just being no nonsense type of guy and always willing to do what's right for children, not being afraid to ask those challenging questions for the sake of children.
That's wonderful. I share this a lot, especially with when I talk to men and particularly dads. A lot of things that young boys learn, they're not necessarily sat down and taught. We don't sit across from them and tell them, do this, do that. They're caught. They're caught. And everything you guys are saying is they're watching. They're watching us.
They're watching.
And that's how they're learning. They're learning from watching more so than just sitting down. Well, this is the blueprint. I suppose we're looking for a blueprint. Now, I don't know if it's a blueprint now because everybody's a little different, but they are watching. And what they do is they pick up on those qualities that best fit them, that best fit their situation. So if you notice that, and Deondre, you've seen this, you've been around long enough, me and Dad have seen this a lot, how kids will have that aha moment. Oh, that's what Mr. Drakeford meant. We see them all the time. Me and your dad, kids, we run into kids all the time that we taught years ago, and now we don't know their name. We don't forgot them, but what they
right.
Well, I was a teacher at Mohawk Middle School. So anytime a kid say Mohawk Middle School, they done gone way back,
Yeah.
But I probably, the things that we've done, my whole point is things that we've done and said, we may not think, and you said it well, Deondre, it may not impact them now. We may not see it now, but we just got to keep being consistent is the word that I'm hearing from both of you all. Just being consistent, just showing up. Every day. Them kids, them parents they know your car, Mr. Drakeford. They know your car. Especially in Beach Grove, they know your car. They know your car, and they know that when you're there, it's going to be a good day. I know it's going to be a good day because Mr. Drakeford's there, and that's all they just need that consistency. So, Dion and Deondre, I want to thank you for sharing your story and your hearts with us today. Your journey is a powerful reminder that legacy is not built in a single moment. It's built through years of faith, service, sacrifice, and most importantly, intentional leadership. As part of our Fatherhood series, this conversation illustrates what it means to pass the torch from one generation to the next. Through education, family, and community impact, you are both leaving a legacy that will continue to influence countless lives. To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this Be a Baller podcast special episode. If this episode encouraged you, be sure to subscribe, share with others, and continue building a lifelong legacy in your own family and community. Until next time, remember, be intentional, be impactful, and always strive to be a baller. Continue building that legacy. So, gentlemen, I wish both of you a happy Father's Day, and I thank you for being a part of the Be a Baller podcast. Be blessed.
Happy Father's Day to you, sir. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Business owners should consider leveraging their working capital assets, like accounts receivable and inventory, with a line of credit in order to maximize cash flow opportunities. A business line of credit gives you flexible access to funds when you need them most, and you only pay for what you use. It's a smart way to unlock liquidity, manage seasonal swings, and stay ready for unexpected expenses or new growth opportunities. This Helping You Prosper tip is brought to you by First Merchants Bank, member FDIC.
Thank you for spending time with us here on Be a Baller podcast. Remember, legacy isn't built by accident. It's built through daily choices, faithful obedience, and intentional impact. If today's conversation encouraged you, challenged you, or spoke to your heart, share this episode with a friend. a teammate, a leader, or someone who's ready to live with purpose. That simple act of sharing helps us grow the movement and spread legacy-minded living. We want to invite you to join the Legacy Movement. This is more than a podcast. It's a call to action. And one of the best ways to go deeper is by grabbing your copy of the book, Living a Legacy. It's a powerful resource designed to help you apply what you're hearing and start building something that truly lasts. Until next time, keep showing up, keep pouring into others, and keep building a legacy worth following. Thanks for listening, and remember, be a baller, live on purpose, leave a legacy.